Hello, everybody, and welcome to sort of a special Dev Diary video. It's not exactly a Dev Diary. In fact, yesterday there was supposed to be a Dev Diary released on the Paradox forum here, but to everyone's major disappointment, there was no such Dev Diary. But instead, suspicions that the devs were instead working on actual stuff, for the game, a patch, in fact. And when I hopped into my Thrace campaign that's ongoing right now on the channel, you should definitely check it out after you watch this video. But yeah, I hopped back into my Thrace campaign to continue that, and I noticed that a bunch of things were actually different. And sure enough, I went on to the forum right after concluding that episode, and here we are. So they instead of having a full dev diary and a full patch or anything, they kind of snuck this one in there. They probably meant to have a dev diary for it, but sort of ran out of time, up against the clock, no time to prepare all of that stuff. So instead, they just put out the patch and then put out the patch notes for it immediately after. That's my theory. Anyway, let's see what they have to say. Hi all, Jamor here with some good news. 2.02 is done and should be updating on your systems right now. Comes a bevy of balance tweaks and bug fixes, as well as improvements to multiplayer stability. Full details under the cut. All right, I've already clicked that, so I'm not going to read through all of these, but there are some pretty interesting changes in here that I noticed while I was playing. I was reading through these, and yeah, so it's not exactly, it's not super minor. I mean, there is some stuff in here that will actually change the game. First of all, most pertinent to my campaign is this white peace problem that I've been having. Yeah. Fixed civil war and causing white peace for all parties in the war. Right, let's go up to the actual dev diary. Yeah, this was really causing me trouble at about episode 5 of my current campaign. So what, especially fighting all those little countries with their defensive leagues and the stuff and the like. And so whenever there's a civil war in one of the countries that you're fighting, and then that civil war is resolved, then everybody involved with the larger conflict just gets a white peace and it's over. And that really just delayed my ability to conquer Greece in my Thrace campaign. So I'm really glad that that's fixed, because that caused me to have like 4 different attempts at that anyway. So bug fixes, that's really important. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that because it was recently featured in my series here on YouTube. So I want to highlight some of the main stuff that's interesting to me. Fort maintenance is reduced to 0.4. So that means forts do not cost as much as they did before that. That'll make things a little bit easier on the old economy. Those forts, they really add up, and they really cost a lot as you go through the game. Population capacity modifier from desert terrain type has been nerfed even further to -30. So desert's really not a good place to have your cities and your population centers or anything like that. They made it even worse. Population capacity and pop growth from Great Wonders modifiers reduced by roughly 25%. So that's also been nerfed a little bit. Build cost modifier from stone surplus and capital resources to 5% from 10%. Yes, that's also been nerfed. I did think that 10% was a bit much. Build cost modifier from ruling finesse reduced to -1% per point. Okay, so you're not going to get as much discount on your build price with a good finesse stat anymore. Satellite status now increases max mercenary stacks by 1 in addition to current modifier. Satellite status, that's got to be diplomatic status. So there's a max mercenary count that you can have. You can't just go around hiring all the mercenaries on the map. You have to have a limit depending on a bunch of different factors. What kind of power you are, regional, major, great powers, etc., etc. Religion stability cost increase per stack of stabbed pig is now 100% from 65%. So that, yeah, that stability cost increase per stack. So that means you get more stability, I guess, from each piggy stab that you do. I think that's what that means. Okay, and this one is interesting. High AE threshold, that's aggressive expansion, now infers a penalty on increased stability cost at 1.5% per point. So that means the higher your AE or aggressive expansion, the more political influence is going to cost you to stab a pig and get that stability increase that you want. So that's going to cost more, and it scales now with the aggressive expansion, and that's actually kind of a big deal. Especially if you're going around conquering a lot of stuff and you get a lot of aggressive expansion, like I tend to do. War score cost for defender and attacker in Independence War is now half of base. That's interesting. So that might make it easier for the attacker in Wars of Independence to actually win them. Okay, levies now grant 25% less military experience when disbanded. That's interesting. So yeah, I noticed that in pretty much all my 2.0 playthroughs, whenever I raise my levies and fight a war, if it's just your standard, complete war, once you disband your levies, you pretty much always get an advance on the military tech tree, like no matter what. So it seemed to me that levies were getting a lot of military experience, and of course you only get to collect it from levies once you disband them. So the final payout for your military experience with regard to levies is now 25% less than what it was, which is interesting to me. Levies will start contributing to war exhaustion after 6 months raised. Levies now need to be raised for at least 8 months in order to contribute to military experience gain. That's interesting too. Okay, so war exhaustion, of course, levies do contribute to war exhaustion just by being raised. Now it's a 6-month threshold. I'm not sure what it was before, but at least there's some clarification on that. And so this is a further nerf. They're nerfing it in 2 places with regards to military experience. So if a levy is not raised for at least 8 months, it will not actually contribute any military experience to your empire. And same, okay, so here's our third nerf to war exhaustion, to military experience. And this is from the war exhaustion. So one of the upsides of having war exhaustion, like the only upside of having high war exhaustion, is it increased your military experience. So they're nerfing that by 50%. That's a lot. So it looks like they're really, this is a 3-pronged approach here for getting rid of military experience, because there's just too much of it. So, like, pretty early on in my Thrace campaign, I maxed out those military experience trees, and I would need to, like, integrate another culture in order to get more military experience, military tradition trees, rather. And I've already integrated a bunch of cultures, so I don't really want to integrate more, especially just for that reason, right? So I think I'm not going to do it. But at the same time, then, that military experience is all wasted, and I basically just use it all at the beginning of the campaign. So I'm sort of glad that they're doing this, because, yeah, it seemed like military experience was way too frequent, and there's too much of it. The growing up ambition for children of rulers, or I guess all children characters, now has a slightly increased chance of generating additional attribute points. That's good. So I happen to notice also that the starting characters tend to be pretty good, and then the deeper you get into the game, the less likely you are to have anybody that isn't complete garbage in terms of stats. So I think that is a bit rebalanced in 2.0, and I noticed slight improvement over the last variation. You get more people in the 8s and 9s now, but it's still, having having really good characters is very rare mid to late game, and I hope they kind of do something about that. And this is another point that I've made several times so far in 2.0. Legion commanders are now counted toward family jobs. Awesome. So, Legion commanders, aside from the main one, there are 3 others, and I noticed that it wasn't doing anything to ameliorate the great family, scorned family problem that you have. So, I'd have some scorned families, and I would make them Legion commanders, make members of the family Legion commanders, and it didn't seem to count as a job, and now I have confirmation that, indeed, it didn't. So now it does. That'll help you with your scorned families and the like. And the isolated province modifier has been removed. That's interesting because the AI has changed, so it's no longer relevant. And this one is a real quality of life thing. Benefits of staffed offices are now displayed even when the position is empty, and candidates can now be sorted by stats. Okay, so especially the first clause there. Benefits of staffed offices are now displayed even when the position is empty. Right, so if you had an empty, council seat, advisor seat, or what have you, and you wanted to fill that spot, so you'd know that the stat is for charisma, for finesse, or whatever, but you didn't remember exactly what that position did. Now it's grayed out for you if there's nobody in there, but it's plainly visible for you to see what exactly the office does. So you need this, so then you'll be able to know, well, hey, is it really important that I put a character with high stats in this position, or should I reserve it for someone with a scorned family and for the loyalty and for the for that purpose? And so that gives you a chance to sort of make that calculation with a bit more information and accuracy. Character portrait family color corner indicators made clear. Right, so I don't even know how many people actually knew this, but you can tell if somebody's in a great family by the upper right-hand corner having sort of a triangle of a certain color, and that would indicate that it's part of a great family. And it was kind of like transparent. So It was hard to see, and there's no other sort of indication of what it meant, but now they're making the indicators clearer. In practical terms, they're making it more opaque, so these are just like fuller colors. They fill them in, easier to see now. And finally, Great Wonders are now displayed in Atlas mode. Good, I kind of can't believe that they weren't before. Provided other conditions are fulfilled. Capital City widget is now centered at the location of the city. Will not appear to move as you zoom out. That's kind of cool. Add a shortcut to levies map mode in military view. Awesome. So I know this is a shortcut you can make. So when you raise levies from you know, a certain region or province of your empire, you can specify exactly which territory they pop out of. But I've been sort of just too lazy to do that, even though I know it's probably the better thing to do. So if they just make that easier, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Oh, and this is just amazing. I've been asking for this because I don't have a middle mouse button on my keyboard on my laptop here, and I've been saying, like, why did you make it that it had to be a middle mouse button? Like, why did you have to do that? I was really not liking the technology view and mission view screens because you needed a middle mouse button in order to actually scroll them effectively, and I was, you know, zooming in all awkwardly and stuff, but that problem is now solved. You can now drag them normally as you would in other screens in other Paradox games. I don't know why it wasn't like that in the first place, but anyway, they finally fixed that, and thank Zeus and Jupiter for all of that. And this is big too. Reworked trade import view, which now displays the number of currently possible sources for each trade good and quickly shows which countries will export and why. Yeah, this was desperately needed. So there's sort of like a reorganization of the trade screen, making it a lot more apparent and easy to use, and you don't have to sort of search around blindly looking for that one trade good you need. No, it's all just right there. It looks great. I was just playing with it. Yeah, it makes things a lot easier, and you can see all the actual sources, potential sources of a trade good that you might import. And if you can't get it, then it's just grayed out. You don't have to click into it and just see all X's on the right-hand side, indicating that you can't get it from anybody. Now it just tells you. Now it's got a 0 value that you can't get that trade good. So that's a big quality of life thing that I'm quite happy with. Another thing, added masking for character health issues with several steps, e.g. ailing. So it'll be like Crusader Kings, where they put masks on the characters. Is that what that means? Not sure. Okay, this is a good one too. AI vassals more likely to attach to overlord units. Good. So in my campaign as Thrace on the channel, which you should definitely check out, I have a ton of client states and feudatories, and they're like little, 2K stacks that run around and get stack wiped all the time. So yeah, definitely better if they would just attach themselves to my legion. They'll probably survive a lot better, and we'll be a lot stronger as a coalition. And here's one people have been asking about. AI should be more likely to construct the Colossus of Rhodes shortly after the game begins. Okay, so people were noticing that the Colossus of Rhodes was not getting built. That's one of the big things, especially with the Wonder builder that's been added to the game, that something people wanted to see. You want to see the Colossus of Rhodes, right? As much if not more than the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Add triggers for checking that unit builds roads. I'm not sure what that means, but does that mean they're going to try to stop the whole, like, if your road route, construction route gets interrupted, they don't just keep going with the route, and then by the time you notice, they've already walked all the way to the other side of the map and without building the road. I hope that is that. I don't really know what add triggers for checking that unit build roads actually means, but that's what I hope it means. Okay, and they also fixed a bunch of crashes, so my game has crashed a couple times. It didn't crash at all before 2.0, so maybe there are some stability issues with the game, but a bunch of crashes have been fixed now, and pops can now be moved freely from and to holy sites. That's good. That's something people were complaining about. And fix a bunch of this stuff as well. Fix a bunch of script issues, which is good. It's more quality of life stuff. And they fixed a bunch of other icons and the like. And fixed areas of Alexander music tracks not playing in the game. So yeah, this later stuff is mostly just fixes. I don't really do much multiplayer, so you can look at that yourself. And I invite you to come onto the forum here and check this page out for yourself. So I've just highlighted some things that I think are interesting and are going to play well here in 2.0.2. I'm quite excited for this patch, even though I've already played it. I just played it, and you should too. So this is some really great stuff. It's not just tweaks and balances and bug and crash fixes. It adds some pretty important stuff to the game, I would say. Yeah, it's more good stuff coming out of the constant evolution that is Imperator Rome. They keep making the game better and better, so I encourage all of you guys to come back to that. Now, there was another bug that I was experiencing before we wrap this video, where was having like ghost fights, so they were making it so that even if an enemy army was reduced to 0, there was this bug where it kept attacking and attacking and attacking and attacking, and then weren't suffering any casualties, but that would tie that stack up, that army up, in that like phantom battle that wasn't actually occurring. And I'm wondering if that's fixed. So I sort of skimmed over the these bug fixes, but I think that it has been. It's got to be, right? It's got to be. This one too. Mercenaries can now be disbanded again even after they get cohorts from events, right? So I've had a mercenary stack get extra cohorts from events, like you get awarded cohorts sometimes, and then you won't be able to disband them, and you have to pay them, and they're mercenaries, and they're expensive, and that needs to be fixed too. So some of those things, some of these issues are potentially campaign breaking in Iron Man mode, right? So you need your money, you need your stacks, you need a bunch of these things. So anyway, they've seemed to have fixed a lot of these issues and added in some good new stuff, and I hope that our children characters especially can grow up with some better stats. Maybe, you know, it doesn't have to be common or anything that you get like a 12, you get 12 stats, you know, level 12 finesse or level 12 charisma or anything like that. I don't want that to be common, but I just want it to happen. Just want it to happen occasionally, rarely, but I want it to happen. It never happens after the first generation or so, in my experience. So, what do you think? Have you seen the new 2.0.2 patch? Are you a returning player to Imperator, a new player? And what do you think of the Marius 2.0 patch and the accompanying Heirs of DLC pack? I would like to know what you think about those things in the comments down below. But if you did enjoy this video, please drop a like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.